Welcome to the Animal Liberation Hour, where we seek insight from animal rights and liberation activists around the world so that we can think, reflect, learn, and be inspired. My name is Trey Morrow, and for this episode, I had the chance to interview my friend Val, who is a powerful activist from Italy. I got the chance to meet her a while back when she came to the United States, and we had the chance to do activism together. She was staying at sanctuaries and helping the animals and, doing all different kinds of events, outreach and vigils, and she does it all pretty much. And we formed a friendship when she came over here, and we've kept in touch ever since. She is also an animal activism mentorship mentor. So I am so excited for you to just be able to hear everything that she has to say. She has a very unique perspective on activism. But before we get into the episode, I want to remind you that the Animal Liberation Hour is a project of Animal Activism Mentorship. AAM is a free multinational program that helps aspiring animal rights activists, as well as those who are already activists but want to take their activism to the next level. From one-on-one mentorship to free workshops and trainings to this podcast, AAM seeks to empower humans to fight for animals so that the world will have more activists and we can achieve liberation sooner. For more information and ways that you can take advantage of all of our free resources, visit animalactivismmentorship.com and follow AAM on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Animal Activism Mentorship. You can keep up with the Animal Liberation Hour podcast on AAM's social media also. Animal Activism Mentorship is fueled by Farm Animal Rights Movement. All right, everybody, this is the interview with Val. I hope you enjoy. All right, well, welcome to another episode of the Animal Liberation Hour podcast. I'm joined today by a good friend of mine. She lives in Italy. She's a powerful activist, and I'm so thrilled to be joined by her. Her name is Val. How you doing, Val?
Hello. Good. How are you?
I'm good. So Val, tell us the story of how you became vegan.
Okay. First, I became a vegetarian when I was about 17. I'm 44 now. And back then, there was no Facebook, no videos, not much talking about animal suffering. I experienced, actually, way before, when I was 10, an incredible thing with a little chick. My mom bought me a little chicken, a chick, at a farm, from a market, actually. And I became her mama. She was really attached to me. She was like my baby. We traveled from the north of Italy to the south, back to Sicily by train, a long way. And Trilly, she was my baby. I remember going back from school, and she would just run all the way down the corridor in my apartment. And I will hug her, and she will fall asleep in my arm and my hands. When Trilly started changing her feathers, she was already becoming a chicken. And my mom told me that it was cruel to have a chicken, a farm animal, living in a flat, in an apartment. So we drove to a farmer to live Trilly back to her natural habitat in a farm. When we left her there, At first, I thought it was natural because she was with her friends, although she was already humanized. But when we went back into the car and we drove away, the little chick followed us. She followed the car leaving. And I remember I have this picture in my head, in my heart, that my face was mashed on the window and I will see her and I was crying and she was running, following us. And so that's when it clicked in my head that I wanted to stop eating chicken at the age of 10. When we went back to the farmer a few weeks later, Trilly wouldn't recognize me anymore. And it broke my heart, but I was happy for her. And I would see her training, sitting on onions, pretending that she was making eggs. I think she was trying to make eggs. When I went back again to the farmer, again, a couple of weeks later, she was no longer there. So that again, I made connection and I said, okay, that's where chickens end up to be. So I stopped eating chickens for many years. And then I was little, I couldn't choose for myself. But when I was 17, I watched a few videos about farm animals and I stopped eating animals. But I had no idea what was behind milk, eggs, honey, anything related to animal products. Thanks to Facebook, about 9 years ago, I found out about the truth of dairy, eggs, and all sorts of animal products. And I turned vegan. So, yeah, proud of that.
Yeah, that's a really powerful story. I think a lot of us have dogs or cats or some kind of animal like that growing up, and to have to endure dropping them off somewhere and then realizing that they were essentially murdered. I mean, that would be so heartbreaking. I can only imagine what that was like for you at 10 years old. Now, I'm curious, how did you take all of this, the experience with this chicken and then learning the truth on social media? How did you turn that into becoming the activist that you are today?
Okay. That's what I tell my people I know that are vegetarians and struggle and turning into vegan. The good sides, the nice stories, that the animals are adorable, you love animals, they are pure, they have the rights to live, they have personalities, but also you need to know the cruel stories. What happens in slaughterhouses, what happens behind those walls. So when you're a vegetarian, and I remember, because I was one, I think it's an easy choice, very easy. You just stop eating animals, some animals. But you refuse, at least that's what most of vegetarians say to me, you refuse to watch videos of slaughterhouses. And and we know that animals are abused and used for their products. They end up in slaughterhouses as well. What helped me becoming an activist was first help the other people know the truth, those that refuse to watch these videos, so I can tell them exactly what happens, so there's no need for them to watch them, because I can be graphic myself and my stories and details. But what also is important is to get to know these animals when they're happy, and not in pet farms where I used to go visit, but at animal sanctuaries. Now, in my hometown, there are two sorts of refuge that are distant, but they're in Sicily. And those vegetarians that I know, they haven't visited them yet. So they don't know the difference between pet farms and an animal sanctuary. What I tell them is that a pet farm is an illusion. You think that the animals are happy. They show them being happy. But why? Why are those kids, why are those people visiting the pet farms are milking a cow? Why? Where is the cow's baby? What happened to their babies? Why would you milk a female and steal her milk? Would you milk a dog? Would you milk another woman? That's kind of weird. So activism helped me being a better communicator and help these other people transition from vegetarians, or at least animal lovers, that's what they think they are, dogs and cats lovers, into possibly future vegans. So activism is so important, and it needs to be done in every type of, every way and every day.
You did some activism in the United States, and that's how we met. You were here for quite a while. A lot of people take vacations and relax, but you used your vacation here in the United States doing all different kinds of activism. Can you just tell us a little bit about those trips you took to the U.S. and what you did while you were over here?
I cannot picture myself going somewhere else abroad or another city and not doing anything for the animals. It's now stuck in my veins because I know that if I go somewhere else, animals are still abused and used and killed. And that vacation, the last one, because it is something that I did slowly with my activism. The last time that I was in the States was in 2019, and I plan to volunteer at animal sanctuaries. And when you volunteer and you stay at the animal sanctuary, you experienced the lives of these creatures every single day, and you get to know them and see how different they are from each other already, even if they have the same species, because they have different personalities. But for me, volunteering wasn't enough, because that was a good side that you see from the animals. They're already happy, they're being rescued, they're sweet, you take pictures, it's hard work, but that's not enough. So I needed to do also the bad side of activism, which is seeing animals suffering. And that was when I did a 24-hour vigil outside the slaughterhouse in Augusta. That was my first vigil ever, and it was tough, but I needed it. I needed it to learn more, and also to show whoever was following me live on Facebook. when you post videos and photos of images and animals suffering, but of pictures of taken from other people, usually your friends don't watch it. If you take videos yourself and your friends and families see, okay, Val is live. What is she doing? Where is she? You get the curiosity and you make them watch it. You make them watch you and listen to you because it comes from you, not from a third person or fourth person. So that's why it's so important that we do vigils, we take videos and we go live, using our own camera. That was an amazing experience. The vigil, when I went back to the sanctuary where I was volunteering, I saw things like in a stronger way and appreciating their lives even more, and wanting me to fight for whoever hadn't been rescued yet. I want to fight more. That's when every time I had a spare time at the sanctuary, I had like a couple of hours, a spare time to rest. I will take the car and go speak to the farmers, or take more videos and tell my story, because by using my accent, by using my internationality, people will be attracted and ask me more questions. They will probably be more interested in my stories than your stories because you're a local. So, and that's why, for example, I did leafleting at farmers markets. So I will camouflage with the farmers who were selling their products, but I was giving leaflets that showed vegan recipes. And I did stickering, I did lots and lots of stuff, also protests at the circus. So there's so many ways to do activism, and the more you do, the more you want to do, and that fulfills your heart. You learn by experience, and you learn by the other activists. And that's why when I came back to Italy, I was even stronger to continue my activism, doing solo activism all by myself.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because that is exactly what I was about to ask you about next. You do a lot of solo activism in Italy. Now, that's not something that I have a lot of familiarity with. I have organized actions, and maybe I was the first one there, and I went ahead and got started, but I don't think I've ever set out to do solo activism, and I just admire you so much for doing that, because I feel like sometimes activism can be a mentally tough thing to just like go get out of the house and do sometimes, especially street activism. And I just feel like you're so driven and dedicated, and you get out there, and it doesn't matter if you have to do it all by yourself, you'll do it. Can you talk a little bit about the mindset you have to have going into solo activism, and is it intimidating to do activism by yourself out on the streets?
It was at the beginning, but then I found the way. Sometimes I don't plan to do activism, but my car is ready. It's packed signs. This costume stays in my car. And
she's talking about the cow costume. She's in a cow costume right now. Nobody else can see, but she's in the infamous cow costume.
Yes. So I do have material. I have leaflets with me in the car. I have signs. I have a costume. So if I plan to do activism, yes, it could be like chalking. I have my chalks. I have my signs. I have my stickers. But the costume thing helps me because it's not aggressive. It's cute. It attracts all type of people: grandparents, families, kids. And when you start in a positive way, people will come up to you, curious, asking you why you dressed up like that. But then you can talk about serious stuff. And so lately, I wanted to use this costume, and I got inspired by the animal activist from Australia.
Tash Peterson?
Yes, Tash. Her activism is pretty strong because she has this costume, but full of blood. And she does interruptions, she does disruptions in supermarkets and stuff. I use my costume to simply go grocery shopping. It's an outfit. People can dress up the way they want. And that's how I dress up when I go grocery shopping. And so while I buy food and drinks, people will see me, get attracted, and ask me questions. I don't have to bother them, but they kind of bother me in the sense that they come up to me and ask me, why you dressed up like that? Are you selling milk? They might think. And that's when I tell them, well, are you a baby cow? Because my milk is for my baby. Have you ever thought about that? You don't look like a baby cow to me. And so I have leaflets. So the second last time that I did that, I think it was around Christmas or New Year's Eve. And this lady was taking a picture of me with a big sign that I have around my neck saying, eat something, not someone. And for those who understood the message, they probably gave me a thumb up, or others would even understand what it meant, and they asked me what it meant. But so I remember this lady, she took pictures of me, and then I asked her, would you like some recipes, some cruelty-free recipes for New Year's Eve? And she was enthusiastic. So I gave her the recipes. So I think the cow costume works. The manager of the supermarket always smiles when he sees me because I don't scream, I don't bother anyone, but I make people think. And also, it's kind of supporting the vegetable section of the supermarket. So yeah, I love my costume.
Yeah, I really think it's fascinating that mindset toward activism, drawing people toward you. A lot of your actions are very theatrical. For example, what you were doing inside the grocery store when you have the cow costume on. But also you've done a lot of circus protests where you're outside pretending like you work in the circus and you're whipping stuffed animals to make people think. Can you just tell us about the kinds of reactions you get to that kind of activism and sort of how you come up with these things?
Yes. When I do my solo protests outside the circuit, sometimes I get company, and I want to thank those people who stop by and stay with me, like half an hour, a couple of hours, especially when I'm under the rain. But whipping out the stuffed animals, it is something that I learned in the States. I learned from you guys. I remember we were at this protest outside the circus, and I saw this lady. She had a real whip, and she had a stuffed elephant. So I learned that from her, and I think it attracts children first of all, because I mean it's cruel to whip the stuffed animals, and also it helps them see that gesture of using the whip. They will see it when they go to the show. They will remember that, and they will probably make the connection once they get out of the show. It makes them wonder. He makes them wonder a lot of questions that they probably won't ask me, but they will ask their parents. And so I think it works great. I'm not allowed to use a megaphone anymore. That was in one of my first protests when I was shouting. I was a pretty aggressive protester. How do you call a protestant? Protester. And so the cops said you cannot use the megaphone anymore. So I said, okay, well, what can I do to attract attention beside the signs? That's when I used the stuffed animals and the whip. So I dress up like one of the circus people. It seems like I'm one of them. And that's why a few people stop by and ask me for tickets. And instead of tickets, I give my leaflets. And I must say that even if and when I'm by myself, I was able to stop a couple of families, to stop them enter the show, even though they were this close to buy the tickets. I used to go to the circus myself, even when I was a vegetarian, and I used to go to rodeos when I lived in Texas. That's because vegetarianism wasn't enough. I wasn't just eating animals, and I remember supporting and cheering for the bull when I was at rodeos. That's because I just didn't get it. And I'm sure that if I met one single activist outside the rodeo, I wouldn't enter. I will join them. I just needed one single person to convince me, because I was just ignorant. Same when I went to the circus. I didn't like the parts with the animals, and I would just close my eyes, but I was still supporting them with my tickets. So that's why I continue doing my solo protest, and I don't get discouraged by people telling me, oh, you're just by yourself. You're not going to convince them. Oh, yes, I do convince them, and I will convince them. And I see that because fewer and fewer people go to the circus now. I noticed that. And I noticed that people from the circus get furious with me, but I have my permission. I kept the distance. I don't shout at them. I don't blame them anymore as I used to. I used to point a finger at them and blame them and scream them, shame of you. But what I do, is already art, is artistic. And not only I do my solo protest, I also preview when the circus is coming. What I do is, before the circus arrives, because probably is in another town, and there is a show at the cinema or at the theater, there's a nice show, then I stand outside the show thanking people for going and watch a show that doesn't exploit animals. So I talk about the circus way before the circus arrives. That's to prevent these people, the audience, to go and buy the tickets and watch the show. This happened when Dumbo was on the big screen, because Dumbo message is that Dumbo wanted to go back to his mommy and live free in the savannah, and he wasn't happy in the circus. So I asked the permission to the owner of the cinema. He was happy because I was kind of sponsoring the film, and I was encouraging people to watch the film. So I stood outside the cinema. He actually let me in, and in the hall, and I was thanking people for watching Dumbo, and I was already giving leaflets against the circus. The circus arrived a week after Dumbo was on the big screen.
Yeah, I was about to ask you more about your thank you. I call it thank you activism. I don't know what else to call it. I don't know what you call it, but we'll come back to that in a second. But I just wanted to go back to one of your previous points about the costumes and attracting, like, kids and families and everybody. Activism in costumes isn't something that I usually do, but pretty recently PETA asked me to lead up a protest in my local area. They sent me a tiger costume, to protest the circus, and it got the media out there. A lot of people were lined up, and kids were taking pictures of the tiger. But the whole time, the tiger was holding this sign that says, "Don't lie to your children. This place hurts animals." So in every photo that was taken, that sign was there. And I loved what you said as well about kind of looking like you worked there, because we also had an activist at that protest that just wore like a neon vest. He kind of looked like he was in charge of parking or something, and he would just there was a line coming in, and everybody would roll down their window for him because he looked like he was in charge of parking. And he would just say information about the show today, and he'd hand it to them, and they would take it and read it. So yeah, I thought that was so cool. So I can attest that kind of activism is really unique, and really in a way it's kind of fun, just because you're getting that message out there to people who don't even realize that they're receiving that message. They take a picture of a tiger because they think that's cool. And then, later when they look at the photo, maybe they're thinking about that kind of message. But anyway, I want to get to your more about your thank you activism. So you talked a little bit about it, like when Dumbo was in theaters, and you kind of promoted that message of animals not wanting to be in the circus, animals wanting to be with their families out in nature where they belong. What kind of reactions do you get to this kind of activism? And tell us about, I know that's not the only kind of thank you activism that you've done. So tell us some more about that, and the reactions that you get.
The last thank you, we need to name this. Thank you activism. The last time that I did it was for the dinosaurs. We had on the same spot, exactly the same spot where the circus with the animals park their tent. For the first time, we had a tent that looked just like the one with the circus, for the circus, but it was a dinosaurs museum, a dinosaurs exhibition. And first of all, I made sure that they didn't have lizards, crocodiles, or any type of animals that could relate to the dinosaurs. So not real animals were involved. The dinosaurs were fake. So I took advantage of it, and again, asking permission to the manager to the owner of whoever was responsible for the show. And I asked them, listen, I'm an activist and I support what you do. I love what you do because you're a real artist. and you are educational, and you do not exploit animals. So for your information, I'm going to be standing right here outside every day, every time you have your show, thanking people for coming and see it. They were happy with that, of course. So I made a big sign with, dinosaurs, and I got the inspiration by this picture. It's pretty famous, and it goes around on the internet. It says, children know everything about dinosaurs, but they've never seen one, a real one. So that's when the parents tell me, oh, you're right, the lions suffer, but my child had never seen a real lion. Well, your child doesn't have to see the lion in person, live, to learn about lions. Plus, if your child sees a lion at a circus, he will never learn anything about a lion, because a lion is just sad. He doesn't act like a real one. He's now running free with his family. He's not in his natural habitat. There's nothing natural to see a lion being beat up or like running and jumping up a ring of fire under strong lights and loud music and the crowd and being humiliated and suffering. In real life, a tiger will never see a camel. He will never see a horse. He will never meet a tiger, because the lion is in the savannah and the tiger is in the jungle. So there's nothing educational to show that. So the sign said about the dinosaurs, and also I think the sign said something like it's educational to show to children a show like this about dinosaurs, but it's not educational to take your kids to a circus that exploits real animals. So families who will go to this show, who have probably been to the circus as well, they will come up to me asking me, what does this mean? Because we know that the dinosaurs are fake. So why are you doing this? You're the one who always protests the circus, and you're here too. Now that we don't have the circus, why are you here again? And I tell them, I'm here to thank you. So yes, when I do my protest, I'm angry. And mostly I'm upset that you go and see the animals being sad and being exploited. Now this time I'm happy. So you see me happy, and I'm here to thank you for choosing a good show for your children. So please notice this difference, appreciate this type of show, and the next time that the circus will come back, join me at my protest. Take pictures. Remember the good shows and the bad shows. Here's a leaflet about the circus in case the circus will come back here right after the Dinosaur Show. But you know what, Trey? Most of the times I speak to the children. They're way smarter than their parents. They know. Children know. So I talk to them, I ask them questions, and then I made the children convince their parents not to take them to the circus anymore. I've seen that.
That's really interesting that, this dinosaur show was in the exact same place where the circus show was. So you're getting these people, some of them are the same customers, they're the people that go to the circus and now they're going to this show, and they get to see two different sides of you, the side that's upset about animals being exploited in the circus, and then, oh, why are you here at this? Well, it's to thank you. I think that's so interesting because I'm trying to think how I would feel if I was the one in the line. You know, I saw you at the circus and now I see you for this and you're thanking me, and I'm like, oh, well, I can actually, you know, be entertained without this exploitation. So maybe this lady is onto something here. So you were just talking about how, you know, often you interact with kids during your activism. I know you have a background as a teacher, and I'm wondering if that has anything to do with that. And, you know, when you teach, do you ever incorporate, you know, any kind of animal activism into your teaching?
Every time, every day, every single lesson, all the time. How could I not? Animals are pictured in their books everywhere. So, but how are they pictured? They're pictured as food, as entertainers, as fabrics. They're everywhere in their books. It was Friday. Yeah, last Friday we had the lesson was about animals, but that was from the book. And and in this picture there was a zoo, and there was an elephant standing right next to a giraffe, right next to the monkey, and then the three fishes were in a sort of puddle. And I don't know, it was horrible. That picture was really confusing. So I was supposed to ask questions to the kids about where is the elephant, you know, and they will answer he's next to the giraffe. But since the lesson was about asking questions and getting answers, I just changed the questions because that was my English lesson. And I asked them, is the elephant happy? Actually, in that picture, it wasn't really happy. So I started with the elephant. So some kids said yes, some kids say no. Is the elephant with his mommy? No. And where is his mommy? What's the natural habitat of the elephant? Is it a zoo? No, the savannah, no, the jungle. Look at this fish. They're in a puddle. Do they have enough space? Do they have space to swim? No, that water is too small. Exactly. Look at the parrot. He's flying away. Why is he free and the other animals are not? Yeah, he flies away. He escapes. So I help them with the Socratic method. I help the kids get to the truth. I help them answer and see with their eyes that that picture was wrong, and the animals were not free, and it was just all sad. So I did not skip the page. I could have skipped the page. I didn't want to skip it. I wanted them to criticize it. And yeah, that's what I do with them students. I teach them to be critical, but in a good way, because then we wanted to find a solution. How can we help these animals from the picture? Take a pencil, let's draw an arrow, and let's open these cages.
So, yeah, what Val was talking about there is the Socratic method, which for those of you who are not familiar with the Socratic method, it's basically asking someone questions so that they can draw their own conclusions when they answer, rather than just, you know, telling someone what to think, basically. So do the kids in your classes, are they usually, you know, do they respond pretty well to, what you're trying to ask and the message you're trying to get across?
90% of them, yes. Yes. I just have a couple of them who are, their sensibility is very little. Their parents, they breed probably hamsters or mice.
Do you ever get pushback from parents and principals and people like that?
Never.
Never?
My principal? Oh, yes. My principal, yes. The parents, no. But you know what? The parents are happy. The kids are happy. So you take me the way I am, or you lose me. That's it's kind of risky. I know.
Yeah, that's brave.
But it's the no students, no classes, no school, no money. And we want our students to be happy. And I told my principal that I don't just teach English as a language itself, just to turn pages and do homework. I want my kids to learn the language so well that they can travel around the world and save the world and make a change and help other kids and help animals everywhere they go. Just like I tried to do when I went to the States. So also when I teach food, parents are pretty happy that I teach kids vegetables and fruits because kids can be fussy with them. So parents are I don't think they complain about me not teaching them hamburgers or hot dogs and sausages, because even though they're not vegan yet, they know that this kind of food is not healthy either. So, and I get pretty strict with the parents actually when I see them giving, junk food to their kids as a snack. I said, what is this? I'm sorry, Val, sorry. Next time, apple. Okay.
Oh my goodness, that's great. Well, that's so cool, Val. I mean, it gets tricky when it comes to our activism and what we do for a living sometimes. So it's great that you've had the courage and found a way to incorporate all of that, because obviously being a teacher is a great responsibility. This is the next generation of people who are gonna run our world and be a part of our world. They're already a part of our world, and to empower them and teach them things that maybe not all of us will always learn in school. I'm not sure what the school system's like in Italy, but I know here in the U.S. It's lacking. There's definitely a lot of great teachers. Like I had so many great teachers, coming up as a kid and a teenager. But yeah, some of the curriculum I think is interesting. They don't really prepare you for the world in the way that I think that they should.
Most of them only stick with their books. Mm-hmm. They just do what the books say. But books can change. They need to be upgraded, and they are slightly changing. I'm saying now the subject he or she for animals instead of it, which should be used for objects. But and when on a unit in a chapter of the book that is not shown and it's written that, for example, about a dog, it is black, then I correct it. I make the kids correct it. I ask them, hold on, wait a second. Let's call this dog. What's the dog's called? Let's call the dog Jack. Okay, is Jack a boy or a girl? A boy. Okay. So is he a it, a she, or a he? He. Okay, let's change that. So, and that should be easy also for cows and bulls. The cow, we already know, is a female. It's a she. Why call it it? It is the chair.
Yeah, that's great because, speciesist language, I think, I don't know how long people have been speaking in a non-speciesist way, but it's not something that I found out about until, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. So I think it's great that as you're teaching these kids English, you're also kind of taking away that speciesist language. And I thought it was so interesting what you said, that, the reason why you want to teach these kids English, there's a little more to it. And I wasn't even really thinking about the fact that, so many people speak English. 1.3 billion. I just looked up on my phone, if this is right. So, how much further has your activism gone because you're bilingual? Like, how has that affected who you're able to reach? Do you think that more activists should learn a second language?
It helps you when you travel, for sure, and communication and stuff. But also when you're in your home country, it attracts people. And for example, on my Facebook, I often write in English, although I know Italians, but because not every person that I'm friends with on Facebook is vegan or is even an animal lover, but they want to learn English and they follow me because I write in English. But what do I write about? I write about animals. So with them, they're thinking, okay, let's practice some English here. But what am I reading? What am I learning? What question can I ask to improve my English? If whatever they said was about animals, they can only ask me about animals. So, and yeah, being bilingual is just wonderful. It opens up your brain and it makes you do more and learn more. And I wish I was, trilingual, quadrilingual.
Well, I think that's so great, and it allows you to connect with other activists too. I'm so happy you can speak English, because if you couldn't, we wouldn't be able to communicate like we do. So, yeah, that's fantastic. So Val, what are some of your biggest obstacles when it comes to activism? Because, at Animal Activism Mentorship, we try our best to empower people to become active, and everybody has different obstacles. So I would love to know what your obstacles have been, what your obstacles are, and how you either overcome them or work around them to do all the great work that you do.
I'm pretty confident now with my solo activism. So really like signs and outreach, checking on people's jackets, if it's real fur or not. And even following trucks full of baby cows. That's what a couple of weeks ago I did. I followed this truck. I waited until this truck stopped, took videos, spoke to the driver and talk about it with non-vegans. So that doesn't even hurt me that much anymore because I'm tough and I want to do more. What breaks my heart is, it's weird, is knowing vegans who do not do any sort of activism, vegans who only do activism in big groups, but not in 3, in 2, or solos, when they only wait for the big event that might happen only, they might happen only like once a month, but animals are being killed, enslaved, and exploited every second, every day. And also knowing amazing people who are pet lovers and sacrifice their life for dogs and cats only, but then they go home and they eat other animals. It's weird. That's what makes me so upset, that my ability to be calm and being a good outreacher, I don't know, I kind of lose it because I know a lot of them. I know a lot of volunteers and activists who do activism only for dogs and cats. They do amazing things. They spend so much money, they risk their life, they fight for rescuing them, they fight for finding them families, but it's too hard for them to stop eating other animals. That's what I struggle with, trying to open their mind and their heart to other animals as well. So I recently read this post and I copied and pasted that said, watching people, no, it was like this: rescuing dogs and cats and eating pigs and cows is like eating dogs and cats and rescuing cows and pigs. I mean, just you need to swap their position as the same. It's exactly the same thing. So I try to talk to them and experience what they do. This morning I was at this shelter. I volunteered at this shelter with this 20, I think there are about 20 dogs in need. Dogs are very old, under medication, who probably will never be adopted because they have really bad conditions. And these volunteers are so good, so sensitive, so strong. They love them so much. But knowing that once they go home, they eat, their friends, it breaks my heart.
Yeah, I share that sentiment, and I know that a lot of other vegans do. Yeah, that can be so frustrating because I've seen activists who are way more dedicated than I am. They spend way more time doing activism than I do, and they work way harder than I do, but they're not even vegan. They're doing all this for only certain species, but like you said, then they go home and they put a different species on their plate. Yeah, it's absolutely frustrating. But what do you do to, obviously this bothers us as vegans, but what do you do to kind of deal with that? Because if we focus so much on that, we can get to the point to where we're debilitated and we can't do any activism at all. I know it's especially difficult when we see people that we care about, like friends and family members, when they're exhibiting this kind of speciesist behavior. But what do you do to deal with it and just press on to be able to do your own activism instead of just staying at home depressed about it? How do you move forward and take action?
With these volunteers, with these pet lovers, when I meet them, I'm always wearing, a sweatshirt, something that says vegan, that showed other animals, and they ask me questions, or they think that sweatshirt comes from a farm. And when they ask me, have you ever volunteered at our shelter, or are you familiar with this? Then I recall them that, yeah, I volunteered at an animal sanctuary with other animals, not just dogs, but also cows and sheep and typical farm animals. I tell them my experience, and they get very curious, and I show them pictures, and I tell them that they're not any different. These dogs they love so much. They're not different from the cows, from other refuge. And I share them recipes. I show them pictures of the food that I eat, and I give them leaflets, and I ask them, why don't you try? Why don't you try? Why don't you think about the animals as well? Would you like to go and visit the animal sanctuary that we have in the other city, in Sicily? Let's go. Let's go. I want to show you how amazing they are, how funny the pig is, and how cute that goat is. Let's learn from their stories, because then these people tell me, oh, I've been to a pet farm. That's different. That's not a pet farm. That's what the kids told me, my little students, but they're too little. They tell me, I've been on a pet farm. They're so enthusiastic when they tell me, because they think I say, oh, really? Wow, fantastic. I can't say that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, it's just like when I was a kid, I really enjoyed the circus and zoos because I liked animals. I liked seeing them, but yeah, I mean, sometimes when you're a kid, you don't realize the cruelty that's happening behind the scenes for you to be able to see those animals. Yeah, and I think people who are like that too, if they're super dedicated to a certain kind of species, but if you invite them out to an animal sanctuary, they are empathetic people who are very capable of creating that non-speciesist mindset, but they probably know that, so they're too afraid to go to the sanctuary because they know as soon as they meet that cow, as soon as they meet that pig or that chicken or that turkey, it's gonna be a hard time for them to be able to eat those same animals. It's because I know as soon as they met those animals, they would realize there's no meaningful difference in morality as far as saving this one and eating this one. It just doesn't make any sense. So Val, what advice do you have for people who are just now getting into activism, or maybe the person that's listening to this that isn't an activist yet, but maybe they're thinking about it, maybe they've listened to this conversation and have been inspired by you, and maybe they want to become an activist? What advice do you have for those people?
Okay, well, the number one could be find a local group of activists, like the Anonymous for the Voiceless or Safe Movement. So find a group. If there's no group yet, you can start one. And just gather with your other friends who are vegans and start with the simple things. Chalking is super simple. It's not aggressive. You are outdoor, you do your drawing, it attracts people. You can give your chalks to the children and to whoever comes by, and just tell them that it's all it's animal. The theme is animals, and so you can show some signs saying, okay, we have to reproduce this. We have to reproduce animals are friends, not food. Let's make this on the floor. Let's draw this on the pavement. And yeah, you can do that. I started now doing my chalktivism with the cow costume. That's because when I go to the park, not everybody could see me. But if you see someone dressed up as a cow, you see by distance, and that will attract people to do chalktivism with you. Otherwise, it just looks like someone who's drawing something. That's it. So the costumes work. And if you don't have a costume, you can like make a mask or something. And when I do my chalktivism, I also have signs, leaflets, and the screen. I have my computer, my laptop, that shows images similar to the one of a cube of truth, or less cruel one, you know. So I have that's because I'm by myself. I actually have signs for 20 people, but I'm almost by myself. So I put the signs on the floor. Whoever wants to see them, they get entertained, they get inspiration, they get inspired, they take pictures, they make videos for sure, and they look at the videos that I have on the computer. So I do things for the kids, chalktivism, the costume attracts people, but also signs and images on TV for adults. So you can do it all by yourself. Stickering. I make my own stickers. I use the frame of the reward stickers that I use at school. The whole frame is white. I cut them into pieces and I write watch Dominion or watch Cowspiracy, and I put the stickers with on light poles or on mailboxes. And lately I take my the trash, the recycled trash, to a deposit. That's to get some taxes back. And there's a long line outside the deposit. So you wait in the car. And so the last time I was there was such a long line that for me, it was just a waste of time. I think we waited like 1 hour waiting in the car for our turn to leave the recycle. I had my signs against the firecrackers. And so I got out of the car and I just approached every single car that was in front of me and the one behind, just to say hello, showing the sign against the firecrackers. Everybody agreed with it. They all gave me a thumb up because they hated firecrackers, elderlies. They had dogs and cats that were scared. So, and they gave me a thumb up. So I started talking about firecrackers and I said, hold on a second. I can do this with my other signs. I can talk about fur. And so you start with a topic where everybody will agree with you. fur pretty much the same, going and then to circus and ending to food. So you can use your spare time. Every time you have some spare time, use it for talking for the animals. So even if you go to the beach, you walk on the beach, there's sand, people walking by, take stones and write with the stones, with the rocks on the sand, write a vegan sign that will attract people. You can, even like if you see a dirty car, with a dirty window, we used to draw with our finger. Well, you used to write, wash me.
Wash me, yeah.
Yes. No. Watch Dominion. Watch Conspiracy. Earthlings. Go vegan. That's what I do on dirty cars now.
You're an opportunist. That's great.
I was taking these yoga classes online, and usually people who do yoga, or they're vegetarians or probably pescatarians. They're almost there. So after the yoga class, everybody was waving and saying, thank you, and everybody was, I had my sign saying, you're not a cow. Stop drinking cow's milk. After all the meditation and yoga and relaxation, wake up, people. Stop drinking cow's milk. So
I think you've thought of everything, Val. No one's safe when Val's around. She's going to tell you the truth. Well, Val, it's been awesome. Is there anything that you want to add before we wrap it up?
Just go out there and speak to people. Show your big smile. Prepare yourself. If you're shy, you can give leaflets. You can do that, or do activism online, but you need to go out there too. I mean, you need to do activism on the street. Not everybody is on Facebook. Not everybody's on Instagram, or not everybody believes in what the internet tells you. But they might listen to your stories. They might believe you. And I really hope that all this group of activists can also work on their own and not wait just for the big event, but do a little bit of solo activism themselves. Sometimes it works even more than in a big group. I'm sure I just get a lot of attention when I do my solo activism outside the circus. They might think I'm crazy, fair enough, but by seeing me whipping up the stuffed animals, showing signs, and standing under the rain in the cold for 2 weeks in a row, might be crazy, but okay. But once they go and see the show, they see the animals that are sad. And the best conquer of this protest I had was when a couple of families, after, then they didn't listen to me. They still went to see the circus. But when they came out, they came up to me and they said, you were right. We're not going anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's always really inspiring to me when I see someone by themselves doing activism, because that means to me that they're going to stand up for what they believe in, whether anybody joins them or not, no matter what anybody else thinks. So I think that it can be very inspiring to see someone standing up for what they believe in by themselves. And Val, you do that all the time. I'm so inspired each and every time I see you doing these kinds of actions. You're one of the most dedicated activists that I know. I feel like you take literally just about every opportunity, and I'm so glad that you're an activist, and I'm sure your words are going to inspire a lot more. And we appreciate you being here on the podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much. Go vegan, be active.
Isn't Val just amazing? Thank you all so much for listening. I hope that you were inspired by Val. Please rate and review the podcast. It helps others find it more easily. And the more people that find it, the more people can be inspired by the guests that we interview on the show, like Val, and we can turn that into actionable change for the animals. And if you enjoy the Animal Liberation Hour and would like to support our work at Animal Activism Mentorship, please consider joining our Patreon for as little as $2 a month if you're able to do so. This goes such a long way in helping us grow the animal rights movement through mentorship. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Animal Activism Mentorship, where you can keep up with the podcast as well as everything AAM. And one more reminder that you can sign up for a free mentor to help you with your activism at animalactivismmentorship.com. If you needed a sign that you should be an activist for the animals, this is it. Remember that it will take all of us to achieve animal liberation. Stay focused, stay positive, be effective, and keep doing your part. Until next time.